Have you heard of Pilates exercise? Maybe you've seen these studios with fancy equipment or even some videos online where you can put a mat on the floor and work on some specific exercises to help strengthen your core and even help relieve back pain. But did you know Pilates exercise can actually strengthen the pelvic floor and work on the muscles that control problems like having bladder, incontinence, prolapse, or anything related to the pelvic area? That a lot of women are dealing with these symptoms. They can be embarrassing and frustrating, and Pilates-based exercise, if you're doing it the right way, can be a huge benefit. So today we're going to talk all about that, what Pilates can do for your pelvic floor, and can it actually strengthen those muscles if that's what you need. My name is Dr. Dawn Andalone. I'm a Pilates-based physical therapist and also a pelvic floor specialist. And over the thousands of women that I have helped with back pain, hip pain, anything related to the pelvis, whether that's bladder incontinence, prolapse, a lot of those issues I mentioned before, they can be helped with doing some exercises that are highly related and linked to the principles of Pilates-based exercise. And if you're looking online for some answers related to any of those problems, just know if you're going to the right type of Pilates studio that's really going to take the time to walk you through the breathing exercises and some of the foundations, you're going to find a huge benefit toward helping your body as a woman over age 40 with a lot of these issues that can come up from perimenopause to postmenopause. And I want to talk you through what actually is the pelvic floor and why do you feel like you need to strengthen it. So many women are told by their doctor or another practitioner to do Kegel exercises and work on strengthening. And these muscles in red here at the bottom part of your pelvis and your pelvic bones here, you can see your spine is in the back and here with your tailbone, and in the front here, those basket of muscles in red are the pelvic floor muscles. They support your bladder, your uterus, your rectum. They serve to help sexual function and also just support for your hips and your pelvis. So why actually are doctors and other practitioners recommending Kegel exercises? Well, they work on tightening and strengthening these muscles, and the theory is that it's supposed to help bladder control and help support your bladder as you age. Well, in some cases that could be true, but a lot of cases it's not. And as a pelvic floor therapist, I see a lot of women that actually have tight and tense muscles here that are creating more of a bladder problem and more of an issue with having any pain in this area. So what does Pilates, how does that relate to this? Well, sometimes if you're doing some exercises that are always going to work on tightening and strengthening your core, that is not necessarily going to be beneficial. But in Pilates, if you're going to the right kind of instructor that's really trained on teaching you the proper way to breathing from your diaphragm area here and your lower abdominals and through your ribs, there is a huge benefit to learn the proper way of breathing, and that is one of the main Pilates principles. Because a lot of our control through our body and a lot of the issues we face down the road has to do with this central area of our trunk muscles and also our core. In Pilates, with the diaphragm at the top, that actually serves as the top part of your core. So if you're learning how to control the diaphragm with breathing, that in turn is going to affect the whole core system and affect your pelvic floor. So if all you're doing is tightening and strengthening the pelvic floor and you think that's what you need, it's not always the case. So learning some of the Pilates principles, breathing as the first one, is going to be very beneficial for your pelvic floor because it kind of resets those muscles and tells it what it needs to do, because your diaphragm needs to move properly with your pelvic floor muscles. So in Pilates, we also work on a lot of lengthening the muscles and lengthening the joints and lengthening the spine as you're moving through the exercises. This can also be very helpful for lower back pain, creating less compression on your spine. But in relation to the pelvic floor, those muscles will learn to let go, but they'll also learn how to tighten and support when needed. We don't want to tighten them all the time. So learning how to do specific Pilates exercises, there is going to be some hip opening, some stretching through the hips, which is very important for those pelvic floor muscles so they can actually get stronger and have more endurance and more support for your body. Now, I'm going to show you a couple examples of what I mean and how this works. And I will do this with a Pilates reformer. Maybe you've seen this piece of equipment before. There are exercises as well you can do on the mat, as I have another video, the difference that shares the difference between Pilates on a reformer or the equipment versus Pilates on a mat. So you can go back after this video and watch that too if you're wanting to know the difference. So in reference to this video, I want to talk about the pelvic floor and what we might do on the reformer that is actually going to help and be supportive for those pelvic floor muscles that can impact bladder problems and prolapse and back pain. So for purpose of this video, I am on a Pilates reformer, and as you can see, this would be a more beginner to intermediate type of exercise. We would have you start not with this exercise on a reformer if you're a total beginner, but I want to give you an idea of how you can actually lengthen and stretch through your hips that helps support the pelvis even more. So your hamstrings, if they're really tight, this is going to work on your core control from here as you lengthen the legs and lengthen the hamstrings, which attach to your pelvis and therefore can help open the pelvic floor as well to help any issue that you're having down there. We like to do circles and some movements with our legs in different directions. And this can be very therapeutic and very helpful for any of those pelvic muscles learning how to breathe as you're stretching and lengthening through the legs. So that is a Pilates reformer and just a little sample of how fun it is to actually work on stretching through the hips and through the legs. And that can be very beneficial. Now, being able to open the pelvis and stretch these muscles is just as important as strengthening them. So if you're solely working on Kegel exercises to strengthen and your problem is not getting better, or if you feel like you're not quite sure why you're doing them or if you should be doing them, well, Pilates is going to be great because it's going to work on those muscle imbalances. So we may notice even on one side of your body versus the other, if you're pushing with one leg, which side might be stronger or even tighter compared to the other side. So any muscle imbalances through the mid part of your body, through your hips, your spine, and your pelvic floor, we are going to be able to address that by being on the Pilates equipment and moving, lengthening as you strengthen. Now, people notice too that they tend to get a little more toned and tighter through their midsection and their hips if they are doing Pilates. You are working on small muscle groups that have to work on concentration and control of this part of your body with Pilates. That's why if you're weightlifting and doing some other kinds of exercises, many times you're working on larger muscle groups. And in Pilates, because we're very isolated and controlled with movements, you tend to use that area by your pelvis to support and stabilize through that area, which can have so much carryover to your posture, to eliminating pain through your spine and your pelvis and your hips and joints. And also just have that carry over into another activity that you want to do. We've heard from many of our clients that they become better golfers, they become better at pickleball and movements where they have to have that control through their body. There's a lot of professional athletes that even do Pilates because the pelvic area and the core is the central part of your body, and really your pelvic floor muscles are just at the bottom of your pelvis. then that is just one area. So if you're working on everything together in Pilates-based exercise, that's where you can see a huge benefit. And like I mentioned, if you're having bladder problems or you're having prolapse symptoms, any pressure or heaviness in that vaginal area, back pain, hip pain, anything like that, Pilates-based exercise, if you're doing it the right way and not solely just tightening all the time, but you're really focusing on the breathing and moving through the exercise and the flexibility with it, it can be a game changer for those types of issues that you're having. And that's why we use more of a therapeutic approach with Pilates, but in turn, you can actually get in great shape with Pilates. So I hope that answered a little bit for you when you're looking for a way to strengthen your pelvic floor muscles and you've heard Pilates could be good for it. That's just a little intro about how we explain it to our clients and the benefits of Pilates and its impact on the pelvic floor. So thanks so much for watching. If you haven't subscribed, please do. We release new videos every week all about women's health topics, and I would love to share them with you. So have a nice day. Thanks for watching.